Welcome to SuperCrowdChicago, live in person at Columbia College Chicago and streaming live internationally on the E360 TV network and across social media.
Our next speaker will be Denea Beale. Denea is the Associate Director of Access to Capital at the Women's Business Development Center, where she enhances clients' financial acumen and secures funding to grow their businesses. Previously, a certification specialist, she has extensive experience in small business development and retail. Denea will earn her MBA in supply chain management in 2025. She is also a key leader at Kiva as part of her role at the Women's Business Development Center. So, Denea, thank you so much for being here. We're excited to have you. Thank you. Come on.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Denea Beale. As he just said, I am with the Women's Small Business Development Center, and I am the Access to Capital Director, and my focus is Kiva. So I first want to tell you a little bit about the Women's Small Business Development Center, which is actually not too far from where we are now. It's on 8 South Michigan Avenue in Chicago, Illinois. We are a 501c. Nationally recognized, been in existence for over 30 years at this point, and we lead and try to accelerate women's ownership and make economic impact within the small business ecosystem of women. In addition to serving the Chicagoland area, we are stretched amongst 9 states, and just to name a few, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska, Illinois, of course, Missouri. And we are broken down into 5 different markets where we target Chicago, Kansas City, Milwaukee, St. Louis, and the Twin Cities. And we're actually growing in those 9 states and cities in which we serve. So here's my team, the Access to Capital team. We have Josh Gustine, Emma Westfalt, and myself. Josh and Emma leads our direct lending program at the Women's Small Business Development Center, and I oversee Kiva. We believe when we're talking about access to capital for our small business entrepreneurs, having the right capital at the right time from the right source. So we want to be sure that as we're servicing them, we're giving them a variety of options when it comes to capital. So I'll get right into it because you want to hear about Kiva. So what is Kiva? So Kiva was established in 2005. It's one of the world's first personal micro lending website. I like to say that Kiva creates an opportunity for small businesses financially. It began, and it's still growing actually. It has over 2 million lenders on the platform, serving. So far, they have reached $1.5 billion in crowdfunding, and it's growing, and serving 77 plus countries currently, and that as well as growing. So I want to dig a little bit deeper into why Kiva and how it can help, what the program looks like, eligibility, which is most questions I get, requirements, all of those things that around Kiva. So we'll talk a little bit about the problem, the Kiva program, and the borrowing process. But before I start, I think this captures it perfectly, and I'm sure a lot of you in this room can also relate, because when you're talking about business, all our dreams are universals, but opportunities are not. And Kiva envisions a financially inclusive world where all people hold the power to improve their lives. And we know through crowdfunding, this is a great tool in which many small business owners are able to take and have their power. So the reason for Kiva is the missing micro, right? So we have a lot of large traditional lenders out there, but for the most part, they want established credit, collateral, audited business financials. And the truth of the matter, it is a lot more expensive for larger lenders to lend if the borrower on top of that doesn't have established credit. They don't have the collateral. They don't even have the business financials yet, because their new business, right? So a lot of our small business owners, as we see that we're servicing, try and find other ways to raise capital to fund that dream, right? Whether that's really high payday loans or credit cards or loans and things like that. And the interest rates are astronomical. And it's like, whoa, why did you think this was a great alternative? And so we want to be sure that we're providing other capital options that a lot of our business owners are not even aware of. So that's where Kiva comes in. So Kiva is a loan for $1,000 to $15,000 at a 0% interest rate from 12 to 36 months, just depending on the amount of the loan that you are approved for. It does not require high credit scores. There's not requirement of a collateral that you need to secure, and business financials are not needed because we also service our small business owners as well. So Kiva is a simple program. You borrow, you repay, and grow. And now Kiva has created a secondary platform where you can borrow again a second time borrows. And those second time borrows are able to get up to $25,000. So again, the whole process starts all over again. So let's talk a little bit about eligibility, which is one of the number one questions that I get. And I won't talk about them all, but I'll highlight a few of the ones that I typically have questions around. So it must be used, the loan must be used for business purposes. It can't be used for personal purposes. You cannot currently be in foreclosure or have an active bankruptcy, but you can have had a bankruptcy in the past, which is non-traditional with other lenders and things. A lot of times you have bankruptcy, they kind of X you out when it comes to lending. Kiva doesn't do that. Long as that bankruptcy is not an active status, you still are able to qualify for Kiva. Another thing I'll highlight is, of course, you must be 18 or older to obtain the loan, and you must be based in the U.S. Currently, our hub services only the U.S. The Kiva does have an international sector to it. You would just have to reach out to kiva.org if you're outside of the U.S. So again, I'll highlight a few of the criterias. So some of the positive ones, of course, if you have low debt and you're making your monthly payments on time, of course, that's a great thing. If you have a strong credit score, of course, that makes you look good as well. But things that are neutral that don't have any effect on Kiva loans, so collateral, or if you have little to no business revenue, that doesn't make a huge impact whether or not you're going to qualify. If you have a past bankruptcy, as I spoke about already, or if you have no business online presence yet, because again, you're still growing in your new business, that also doesn't have any effect on the loan. What are some things that can have effect on not being approved for the Kiva loan would be past due debts or debts that you currently have that you're not paying on. If the credit score is significantly weak, if that debt to income is really, really high, right? Because we don't want your debt to income be already high, then we give you funding and you're not able to sustain that loan payment. So this is just an overview of what the process looks when you're a borrower for Kiva. And it's just the estimate. Of course, every applicant is different as I'm learning, as I'm working with them. So the first, you will start with the loan application process. That should take you roughly between 30 minutes to an hour, given that you have all the information needed to fill out the application, as I always say. Next is the Kiva review process, which is great for me because it's also the CAM and Hub review process where I'm able to actually look at the application, ensure that you have filled it out correctly. We have nothing missing. If there I need to get feedback as far as being sure your picture is clear, your story, all of those things, which I'll talk about in coming slides. That gives me the opportunity to, prior to it moving on to our underwriters. Next is a fundraising process, which I'll go a little bit more in depth. That is from 1 to 45 days. And then your repayment, as we talked about previous, which will be 12 to 36 months. So here's an example of the Kiva loan and the breakdown given the dollar amount that you may be approved for. So I'll touch on just two. So say one, you're approved for the 1,000 to 3,000 range. Your private funding may look like 5 to 10 lenders, what we call as your social capital. those are those friends, families, clients that believe in the dream, believe in your goal as far as the business goes, and want to support you. So this is one way that they're able to do on the Kiva platform. So you want to start getting those people together, having those conversations so that they're aware that you are looking to apply for the Kiva loan. And so that term would be about 12 to 18 months. So if we're looking at a larger loan on the bigger spectrum, let's say 50,000, you're approved, we got everything going, you'll probably be looking at roughly 30 to 40 lenders, that social capital, again, those family, friends, and clients that you want to have on board to support your Kiva loan. And that term would be at that max of 36 months. So of course, Kiva loan is not for everyone. So there are a few businesses that are excluded when looking at or being approved for the Kiva loan. One of which, if you're using the Kiva loan, which I get a lot of questions around that, is purchasing of stock or equity investment, properties, real estate, things like that. That is not supported with Kiva. The tobacco industry is huge. So any tobacco-based like vape shops, cigar shops, those are for cannabis, those are unfortunately have not been approved for Kiva either. So just to highlight a few that I do see: contracted workers that work for large corporations, so like our Lyft, our Uber drivers, DoorDash. Unfortunately, those aren't businesses that would have qualified for the Kiva loan either. So proof of business, so verification, ways in which Kiva is able to verify that you are a legitimate business. Some ways in which they do that is business taxes, if you have them. Again, not a requirement. Your EIN or tax ID. Incorporation documents, if you're a corporation, of course. And even if you're sole prop doing business as, those are also ways in which that we can prove that you're a legitimate business. So the borrow process, let's get into it from beginning to end. Just that way you have a clear understanding of kind of what you're getting into when starting the Kiva journey. So the first thing first is, of course, the application process, which I talked about at the beginning. What's really key about the application process is your story and your picture. You want to be sure that you have a clear picture showing exactly what type of business that you do. So for example, if you're a bakery, it'll be a great thing to take a picture in front of maybe your oven or some cupcakes that you made or cookies, basically displaying the type of business so that the lenders on the platform are able to clearly understand and know what type of business that you have. Your story is super, super key because, again, remember, you won't be able to directly engage with the lenders on the platform. So you want them to know as much about you, your business, any community targets that you have, impact that you have, ways in which you are going to be repaying the loan, anything that you think will be intriguing to that platform. So that, of course, you want them to invest and to feed your loan. The next stage of Kiva is the private fundraising period, as I talked about prior to before. That's your social capital. Those are your friends, your family, your clients that believe in your dream and want to support your loan. They can do that by funding the loan. The minimum for them to fund is $25. So you would have them all to pledge $25 so that you can reach whatever number set in place, as we talked about before. So if you're at the 1,000, you have 5 people that you need to be on board. Those 5 people would need to pledge the $25. So that's how that works. And that's an example of what your profile would look like. Of course, so you can see a clear picture and clearly see who and what the business owner is doing. And again, what's a great thing with having actual hub here in Chicago, that's what we're here for, to help you through the process so you don't have to feel that it's overwhelming or daunting or you're missing some pieces and puzzles. That's what we're here to assist you through the process and to provide as much help as we can. The next period of the public fundraising is your public fundraising. So that's when you actually cross over to that 2 million in counting lenders to actually fund your loan. That's where they'll see your picture. That's where they'll see your story. And that's where that piece is so important. The great thing about Kiva right now, we're at a 95% funding rate. That's quite different from other crowdfunders. And I believe because it's a controlled environment, there's small business community members that are invited to this platform. So it's not a free-for-all. It's not open to all. You do have to be vetted and invited to this process, which reflects that success rate. Next, your loan is fully funded. So once the loan is fully funded, the servicer that Kiva works with is PayPal. Your loan will be funded within 7 days. Those funds will be available to you via your PayPal account that you would set up, and we'll walk you through that process as well. Repayment. So repayment happens about 30 days after the monies have been given to you. Again, the servicer that you would utilize is PayPal, and of course, we'll be sure that that's set up prior. Another great thing too, prior to accepting the loan, you'll know right up front what your monthly payments are, what those payments begin, and what that term looks like. And what we sometimes see that the small business owner may want to go after the 15. Kiva may say, hey, not quite 15, but we can do 10. So they would negotiate back and forth to get you to at least that 10 to get you started, and then show you what those terms, what that monthly payment would look like, and then explain to you why maybe 15 is you're not quite ready for 15. But don't worry, again, remember, after being a first-time Kiva borrower, you can borrow again as a second-time Kiva borrower. So it's not a one for all. That time clock made me a little nervous, so I was moving through a lot faster than I anticipated. So that is my contact information, my email. I have a QR code as well if you want to schedule an appointment or have questions around the Kiva process. That is all that I have for Kiva. I'm not sure if I have any questions or anything like that.
Yeah, let's take some questions. If you can. Absolutely.
I've got a question. So I'm sorry if I missed if you mentioned what the repayment rate is, but how do you I think the repayment rate is high, but then how do you tell that it will be? Like, how much vetting do you do? How do you know if the business will be able to repay?
I think what Kiva does a great job on the front end is the vetting, the application process. One thing that I wasn't able to say is if that business owner is already at that 80% debt to income, that application is automatically denied because we already can see the debt that based on what we see on credit reports, credit cards, etc., that they can't sustain an additional loan. So that also helps too with the process, even though there are so many factors that go into being approved. I think that debt to income really does help when it comes to controlling that repayment rate. I know for our hub, we've had some ups and downs of struggles with, especially because when we took over as being a hub, it was after our post-pandemic. So a lot of business struggled, and we did anticipate the repayment rate to decline or to have some error because of that. But our repayment rate now is right at about 70% of people that we've vetted and went through the process of paying and increasing, because sometimes we also get borrowers that call us back and say, hey, I got the funds. I didn't have it then. I want to repay because I'm still in business and I'm still looking to keep a secondary. And it really was impactful to me. And again, you have to remember that social capital. So those friends, those family, if they're not paying back, those social people, social capital, friends and family that you brought on, they're not being paid back. So they're alerted. So there's a lot of different eyes on that business owner that also can drive the repayment and being taking ownership of those payments that they need to have. Any other questions?
Nice. What's your point?
Keep the mic. Oh, just for TV. Wireless. Push the button.
Thank you. Hi, my question is, does Kiva report to credit bureaus at the moment? Is the process the same?
It does not report to credit bureaus, but it does use the credit report as a way to assess if the borrower is eligible for the funding. You're welcome.
So I have another question. Is Kiva a charity?
No, because the funds are being and it's in a pot, I would say, right? So you initially start with your social capital. It is a loan because they want the funds to continue to go back into the larger pot so that they're able to lend to others. So it's not a charity in which, because most charities you give, you don't have to repay back. Kiva is a loan. It's not something that's given for free.
Right, but the loans could be, sometimes charities ask people to lend to them, and it has a .org, and I hear it's not for profit, so I'm wondering if Kiva itself has a charitable purpose, and if that's what the loans are used for.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, so that's absolutely. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yes, you are correct in that. Yes, that was the whole purpose of why they came to establish, to create that pot so that they can create another source of capital for small business owners. Yes. I'm sorry, I misunderstood that.
Is it okay if I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I may be wrong, but I think Kiva often coaches the graduates, its borrowers that are successful, to focus on bank loans as sort of a next step.
Absolutely.
It seems to me that crowdfunding would be a more natural next step. Bigger crowdfunding campaigns from like Funding Hope, or perhaps Raise Green, or perhaps Honeycomb Credit. Have you explored that with your folks before? Is any discussion around that?
Absolutely. That was one of the slides I usually have in there, showing the different levels of capital, and Kiva being that first step. So of course, yes, we want them to, this does prepare them to get the feeling of what that monthly payment looks like. What does that look like to be held responsible for the amount of capital that you've taken out? We've seen success rate with Kiva directly and at the WBDC, where because we have that direct lending program that goes up to $50,000, a lot of times we do try to start them at Kiva, and we've seen that they've qualified for Kiva, they've gone through the Kiva program, were successful, and now are able to transition to our direct lending to get more capital, and to other partners that we partner with, we're able to refer, right? Because now they're conscious, they're aware of those payments and those patterns, and what to expect when you're going to bigger and more traditional lenders. So absolutely, Kiva is that first step for a lot of borrowers.
We got a question online. The question online was, is it possible? Oh, yeah. Is it possible to ask a question? So now I'm asking their question. Would you be able to share how Kiva relates to CDFI programs, if there are any overlap in the business model, risk profile strategies?
That's an interesting one. So Kiva, like I said, is more so that first step of capital. So it is a lot different than your traditional CDFIs. They are governed and operate in different ways in which that they assess the applicant. Of course, Kiva has the 0% interest rate. When you're going to CDFIs, they have associated interest rates. So it's CDFIs, I would say, mirror your traditional lenders a little bit more because of the way in which the loan is generated and the applicants and things. Some of the CDFIs also may have collateral that you need to secure the loan. So those are some, I guess, differences, I would say, from Kiva to versus your CDFIs or traditional loans. But I do think Kiva is a great way to get you started to understand what it looks like when you're talking about lending and capital world for small businesses.